Hey, man, we are back. Fresher Than Your Average podcast, issue number 59. It's your man, Animal Brown, in the building. I got my guy, JaiHov, with me. What's good, sir?
What's up, baby? How you sounding, man? Hey, your mic popping?
Hey, man, both our mics are cracking.
Okay, let's get it.
And actually, on this show, we got a third mic, too, man, coming up.
Sure.
Special guest, Matt Powell from MPD. He is a retail sneaker extraordinaire.
Sure.
Over 40 years experience in the retail game, man. Deep in his numbers stuff. He dropped a lot of jewels, and we got to talk about a whole lot of stuff, man. So please stay tuned for that interview coming right up. Let's get the business out the way. Follow us at Fresher Than Your Average Pod on Instagram. Holla at your boy Animal_Brown on Instagram and Twitter. Where can they find you at, bro?
It's JaiHov on Instagram and Twitter, man. Let's have a conversation on Twitter. I'm there, man. Let's talk.
Absolutely, man. Without further ado, let's get straight to it.
Yep.
Also, of course, youtube.com/Realville. Obviously, go to YouTube, search Fresher Than the Average Podcast.
Facts.
We're cultivating a new YouTube just for exclusive Fresher Than Your Average stuff, too. So y'all be on the lookout for that as well. Make sure you hit that subscribe button when you go. But like we always do at this time, let's talk about recent pickups. Did you have any recent cops in the last 30 days?
Yeah, for sure. Your boy has copped, but it ain't got nothing to do. It's hats, it's hoodies, it's tees, it's sweats. I have not copped any sneakers since the last time we recorded a show, and I don't plan on it, man. Now, did I try? Oh, my God. I tried on everything. My size is trash. And I'm telling you, one more month like this, going in the rafters. I am going in the rafters. I'm going to retire. You know, I had a great run, one of the most legendary runs in sneaker history, but the game is watered down, man. It's trash, man, for sure. It's burnt on both sides. What about you, brother? What did you cop?
Slow month for me. Amon Mignet threes. Hit on the raffle. Shout out to Amon Mignet. These are fire. I already put them to the dirt. I love these. The resale prices come down crazy on these. Good. Yeah. Make sure y'all pick up a pair if y'all want to. The quality is stupid.
Yeah, I attempted to purchase those.
Oh, you did?
Those. Yep.
Damn. Next up, man, Cactus Jack, British Khaki, 6s. I hit on the Travis Scott raffle on these. These are pretty dope. I'm going to be honest. I like the green ones better. If I didn't have the green ones, I might have gotten rid of these. But since I got the brothers, I might as well keep the British Khaki joints, too.
Attempted to purchase those as well.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. Next up, man, I hit on the Dunk restock for the Syracuse Dunk highs. That was kind of cool. Shout out to the wifey. She hit on these. Not me, but they are my size. So they are keepers. There was a big Dunk restock earlier in the month, man. Kind of caught a lot of people off guard.
Yeah, it caught me off guard, but I still attempted to buy those as well. Yeah. And
you wanted Dunk? You didn't want the Syracuse ones, dude.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I don't know if you wanted the Varsity Maze ones too, but I also hit on those on wifey's phone. Yeah. Shout out to the missus. Yeah. Dunk highs.
Attempted those as well. Unsuccessful for sure.
Damn. Yeah. And last but not least, Dunk Low Nike by You restock. They're not called Nike ID anymore. They're called Nike by You. I hit on the restock for my Pistons colors. I use the pebbled leather. These are fire, very nice quality. They got the quality control right on these. So if you get a chance, when they do
I got a chance. I tried that too, AB. You sent me, it was like, hey, they restock. I said, okay, let me try. Yeah. Unsuccessful. Your entry was not selected on everything that you purchased. And then some more shit too. Some really cool shit like Asics and some New Balances. Guess what? Very unsuccessful.
And listen, I've struck out on sneakers as well. All these were non-sneaker cops. Except the Dunks, but they weren't my account, so I don't really count.
It is what it is. I'm telling you, one more month like this.
It's a slaughter, man. But listen, we talked to Matt Powell. He gave us a glimmer of hope as it comes to combating these bots. Excuse me. So maybe there's brighter days ahead of you, man.
Fuck you, dog. Patronize me, dog.
With that being said, man, let's get straight to this interview with Matt Powell. I'm telling you, it's some sneaker jewels. It's some brand jewels in here, man. I hope you guys enjoy. Check it out right now. Hey, man, we are back. Fresher Than Your Average podcast. Told you we had a special guest online with us today, Matt Powell, senior advisor over at MPD. Matt, of course, is an expert in the retail space with a decade or 4 years of experience. Man, we wanted to chat with you today about current sneaker culture and kind of where you see trends and things going in the near future. But first, for those who aren't familiar with you, what is NPD and kind of what do you do there?
Great. Well, thanks for having me. I've always enjoyed doing these. So NPD is a global market research firm. We cover retail sales. For the most part, retailers are supplying us with their actual weekly sales data. Then we aggregate that information and give it back out to them and sell it to the brands and sell it to the stock market and frankly sell to anybody who will pay us for it. And we cover about 20 different industries at NPD. I'm the advisor for sports, but we have advisors for food and tech and beauty and automotive and fashion, et cetera. So it's a very big, broad firm. We are really the gold standard for retail sales data in the sports industry. And we cover just about everything in sports except for hunting and fishing. So we have team sports equipment, ski and snow equipment, outdoors, bicycles, as well as sneakers and activewear.
Sure. And quick question off of that too, thinking from a sales perspective, from the outside looking in, Nike is still number one. Is that the case?
Yes, absolutely. In the United States.
Okay.
It's really interesting that when we look at Nike versus Adidas globally, the two brands are very close together. Typically, they are both in about a 20% share range, 20 to 25% share range, 100 to 200 basis points apart. And in a few countries, Adidas is number one, but in most countries, Nike's number one, but not by the margin they are here. In the United States, the margin is huge. It's almost 40% between Nike and Jordan combined. We look at Jordan as a separate brand, even though it's obviously owned by Nike. And Adidas has about 10, 11% share here. So the big gap between the two companies is all about what's happening in the United States.
Is the main thing have to do with soccer being the most, watched global sport, you would say, because of Adidas having a lot of the, actual soccer athletes?
I think their soccer heritage certainly contributes to that, no question. Although Nike is a force in soccer today, it's a really interesting story, and I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here. But back in the 80s, Nike was trying to figure out how to expand their business into Europe, and they kept failing. And they finally came to the conclusion that until they got serious about the soccer business, they were never going to be a factor in Europe. And so once they made that shift in mindset, they really began to establish themselves globally.
So my second question now is really a hot topic within the sneaker world. What are your thoughts related to what we call Nike Gate, the situation with the mom funding her son's sneaker business, Matt?
Allegedly.
Thank you. We don't need to call some lawyers here. It's, first of all, it's a very sad story because she was a rising star at Nike. She was a much beloved person by people at Nike. Many saw her as a mentor. So very sad from that perspective. It's really unclear how much she actually helped here. Clearly, he was pushing the boundaries on what employees are supposed to be doing and family of employees in terms of going to outlet stores and buying sneakers and getting sneakers at the employee store and so forth. And I've been told that he was spoken to about this and said he wasn't going to stop doing it, but he didn't. I'm not sure he really got access to a lot of highly desired product, a lot of it anyway. And I think he had a group of guys, and they were running bots and figuring out how to get around the system. But so I'm not trying to be defensive for her here, but I really feel like what he was doing, where he was really making his money, was buying shoes at outlet stores and selling them for greater than he paid for them in the outlet stores. Mm-hmm. And that was where he was really doing a lot of volume. It wasn't in the shoes that make the headlines on StockX. It was sort of an average kind of footwear. But anyway, it's a shame. And look, the brands have got to figure out how to get this under control. This whole resale marketplace is just out of control at this point. The fans of the product, people who really covet the shoes, who want to own the shoes, are having to pay much more than they should have to get access to that product. You got people doing nothing but flipping and making money because there are fans of products out there. And to me, it's separated the brand from the fans a little bit now. And I have a fairly active social media. I think that's probably how you found me. And you know, the number of people who are asking me, you know, why can't they fix this, and why isn't there another way to do this, is it grows by the day. And I've asked a couple of times, you know, do you have drop fatigue? And you know, the majority of the answers were absolutely. I'm sick of this. And now there are so many other places for the flippers to speculate, whether it's trading cards or GameStop stocks or Bitcoins and NFTs. You know, maybe they'll lose interest in the sneaker side of things. We'll see.
We'll see. And kind of speaking of the bots, you know, Nike came out and made a statement that, you know, they're doing what they can to kind of fix the bot issue, to make their sneakers app a little more manual friendly. Do you believe that to be the case, though? Because from the outside looking in, why would we need to do that? Because it seems like everything sells out now, and not just hot products. And that seems to be because it's so hard to get products that even a small win on a GR release feels like a win. And so now they're doing better than ever from the outside looking in. Do you think is that accurate? You know,
I think the brands, not just Nike, but all the brands, want to get closer to their end consumer and understand them, and to build a relationship with them, build a trust with them. And I think the way the whole resale transactions being operated today, they've lost that connection. They've lost that trust. So I think, look, they're not going to sell any more sneakers. Your point is exactly right about that. Those shoes are going to sell out whether they go to bots or whether they go to real people. Mm-hmm. But their relationship with you is really important to them. And if you think about all the things that happen with the sneakers app, besides drops, you know, being able to communicate to you if you're in a store that there's something going on that you ought to go look at, or that there's a deal on this, or you know, make sure you see this product, and then much they learn about you as an individual, how many shoes you buy, you know, what size do you buy multiple sizes, that meaning maybe you're buying for a family. They're learning a lot about you, and so they're very much committed to building a closer relationship with their consumer. And I think the situation with the resale on highly desirable shoes is breaking down that relationship. So I really do think they're going to do something about it.
And that's probably skewing a lot of the data too, right? Because people are trying for multiple different sizes. They have no idea what size is actually yours.
Right. Yeah. Just anything that's available, I'll take it, right? Yeah.
We definitely have a debate that you need to debunk for us, Matt, but specifically just for our audience. What specific sneaker or the year was the turning point for the sneaker resale market as we see it today with StockX and or Go?
Well, I really think when Josh Luber started Campless and began to create the algorithms for what the proper resale prices ought to be, and then he got the idea to start StockX, and I was talking to him during that period of time and encouraging him to do it. So maybe I'm at fault here for some of this as well. And Josh is a good guy. His heart's in the right place. You know, he was not doing this to there are unintended consequences here. But that probably was really what flipped it up to another level. I mean, when eBay came along and you could trade on eBay, that took it up another level. So, I think there were steps upward, but probably the biggest thing was really the advent of StockX. And not only are you able to make the transaction, which you could do on eBay, but the verification, the authenticity, really, I think, really set the industry up to a new level.
When he was explaining that to you, you instantly thought it was a good idea, or did you have kind of doubts like,
I knew there was a market here. What was unclear was how big the market actually could be, and completely unclear that there would be this class of buyers that I'm calling flippers, who are doing nothing but just grabbing shoes and trading them as fast as they can. So I don't think I anticipated any of that was going to happen. But there clearly was a market here. People were really frustrated about buying products that turned out not to be the product or not be in the condition that they were as advertised. People were just getting straight up ripped off here, and so it seemed like a good solution to a lot of the problems that were occurring. But as usual, there was always the unintended side of how things turn out.
Yeah. Do you think with StockX and GOAT that means brick and mortar resale places like Stadium Goods and Flight Club may be on the way out, maybe dinosaur brands at this point?
Do I think the brick and mortar guys are on the way out?
Yeah, like Stadium Goods and Flight Club. It's like, those are more tourist destination places. That's why they have the prices that they have, when I can just get that same shoe on my phone right now as we speak for cheaper.
Sure. Well, certainly New York City retail is in trouble because of the pandemic. But I think there are some people out there who really want to touch the shoe and see the shoe, and that they are become their own authenticators, if you will. But I haven't studied it closely enough to really understand the price differentials that are out there. But it seems to me that if you can find a shoe for a lower price, that's probably where you're going to end up with, as long as you trust the source.
Yeah,
sure. I have a two-part sneaker distribution question for you. How many pairs, rough estimate, are in the GR releases compared to a limited release, Matt?
It really depends. Every release is different. Sometimes they're 1,000 pairs, and at Christmas time there's typically a Jordan release that's well over 1 million pairs that sells out in hours. So it really depends, and it's very much of a science how the brands determine how much of a product they're going to make, and they look very closely at sell-through rates. They look closely at where the shoe sold and did they sell their allocation out quickly and so forth. So it's highly dependent on that. And you have Jordan at a $3.5 billion brand that's been almost entirely based on selling out of things, and so you can build up a big business, but you have to do it very carefully. And by the way, it's taken Jordan 30 plus years to get to that level. So they weren't at that level day one. And while the first shoe surprised everybody, it was in the hundreds of thousands, not in the billions. So it really depends. But I think one important thing for your listeners to think about is that the decision of how many pairs to make is completely made by the brand. And so it's not like they can only make 50,000 because that's all of the special material that exists. They could make 500,000 if they wanted to. And so it's very much a decision of scarcity. And scarcity is what drives this market. The more scarce a shoe is, the higher its value. We saw that, the game-worn Jordan sell for $250,000 because it was one of one. Yeah. There is no other shoe like that. The Yeezy prototype that sold for a ridiculous amount of money because it was one of one, and he wore the shoe, and so that adds a further authenticity to it. But and by the way, here's another way for the brands to take down some of the heat on resale, which is to make more of these shoes. And when we see a restock, for instance, and by the way, I love that word restock, like it's some miracle that they found these shoes somewhere, because this is all planned out years in advance what they're going to do. But if when a restock comes out, it crashes the resale price. Yep. Because there are that many more pairs now in the marketplace. So it's all about supply and demand. And if the brand said, you know what, we're going to up our quantities because we want to tamp down the resale market. We want to tamp down the flippers. They can do that. And that may be one avenue to try to get this back under control a little bit.
Doesn't that take away from the cool factor, though?
Yes.
And I know they want to hold on to that for dear life. You want to be the coolest, and so that I guess that's probably the
exactly.
problem.
That's the push and pull here. And you know, we look at what happened. Look at what happened with Yeezy in holiday of 18, when Adidas released 1 million pairs of Yeezy in 6 weeks. Yep. And what happened? The resale price came down and down and down and down, and almost crushed the franchise, right? Yeah. And so you know, I think Adidas very quickly realized, because they came out weeks after that and said, we're going to make the same amount of pairs in 19 that we did in 18. We're not going to increase that, and because if you oversupply, you'll kill an item off for sure. And you know, as I have say often, if everybody can get one, no one will want one.
And the second part of that, you basically answered it. Is there a difference in between general release sneakers between the major sneaker brands?
Again, there's a lot of inside baseball here in terms of what's really happening. Sometimes, yes, the brands they make up all these rules and then they break all the rules of what's a GR product and what isn't. In fact, you know, there is no original product anymore, because we don't make shoes like we used to 30 years ago. They couldn't make the original Jordan shoe exactly like it was, because we don't make shoes like that anymore. The manufacturing techniques are different. The way shoes are assembled are different. The materials available are different. So if you remember a few years ago, maybe now 5, they came out with that, what do they call it? There was a level up of
remastered.
Yeah, we talked
about
remastered.
That. Thank you. I had the M word, but I didn't get the whole thing in my mind. And everyone complained that, first of all, the shoes were more expensive and didn't look any different. And secondly, they still weren't like the original, even though they were closer to the original. And why did they cost more? Because it cost more to make them in the old way than it does to make them in the new way, right? So
we talk about, and real quick before we sticking on limited shoes really quick, I don't know, did you see what happened with you see a lot of kind of backdoor issues with boutiques and sneaker boutiques getting shoes. Do you see any change in that coming soon in the way that those are released as well? What's Jordan's son, Marcus Jordan, Trophy Room?
Trophy Room, yeah.
He had one of the hottest, you know, releases, and a lot of people complained that they were backdoored. Do they pay attention to stuff like that too, or is it just like, again, look, it's demand and we're cool and we're just gonna keep it moving? There's nothing we can really do about that.
Yeah, well, you know, managers been backdooring shoes for 30 years. So this is not something new that just happened. And your question is, do they care about it? They absolutely do. They don't want this to happen. And then again, the brand doesn't benefit from any of this. The brand, it only makes the brand look bad. It only makes the brand look like they don't have a control of the marketplace, if you will. And so they're not going to sell any more shoes, whether they all go out the back door or all go out the front door. They've got the same allocation. Yeah. And so it doesn't benefit the brand at all, or the retailer, frankly. Just the store manager who might be getting another $20 for sliding a pair of shoes out the back.
We talk on this show all the time when signature athletes move from brand to brand or become free agents, and the same now you could be said for signature celebrities, right? You know, Drake went from Nike and possibly to Adidas, then back to Nike. What, in your opinion, what's more valuable in 2021 for a U.S. market, I guess, the signature athlete or the signature celebrity?
Oh boy, you know, in real dollars, it still has to be the athlete for the most part, because they're just big fans of the player and kids who aspire to be that. And the brands put more pairs of athletic celebrity shoes in the market than they do. I mean, you can buy a LeBron every day in multiple retailers, right? And whereas you can't buy the Yeezy's gone on launch day, Jordan is gone on launch day. So it's a larger market, but it's not growing, and that's an interesting story here. I mean, the endorsed basketball shoe market has shrunk over the last 5 years. In fact, the whole basketball market has shrunk over the last 5 years. Separating retro basketball,
right,
which is mostly Jordan Air Force One, that business is terrific. But the LeBron, Durant, Harden product, Curry product, that business has shrunk substantially over the last 5 or 6 years. Performance basketball shoes, not just including the athlete indoor shoes, but all Hyper Dunks and other products that play ball in, is about 3% of the total sneaker market in the U.S. today. I mean, it's tiny. It's essentially the equivalent of soccer shoes, baseball shoes, and football shoes added together. And those are really inconsequential categories here because they're only being used to play in. And that's essentially what performance basketball has devolved into. Now, I will tell you that New Balance's effort here is they're showing some nice gains. Puma's effort showing some nice gains, but they each have 1% market share. It's not like the Nike is going to be threatened in any way losing their primary spot. Nike has about 85-90% market share in performance basketball in the U.S. I think 75% of the guys who are playing ball in the NBA are wearing Nike.
Yeah.
So, Go ahead.
Well, we were surprised. We talked about this the other day. How many signature shoes? 25? It's only been
as far as basketball.
25 basketball signature shoes ever. That blew my mind. And then you just speaking about that, having the market share so small. Were you surprised that Nike cut ties with Kobe's estate? Because I know they were having issues around sales before he passed and things of that nature. But now it's impossible to get a pair.
Yeah, it's really funny. When Kobe was playing, he was not a big deal in shoe sales in the U.S. Huge deal in China, interestingly. Massive deal in China. And LeBron, the opposite. LeBron, they don't like LeBron in China. Remember when we went over there and got into a fight during an exhibition game. And so he's not favored there. But Kobe was not that successful here. Until he passed. And then all of a sudden it became, because again, there were people out there who made an assumption that they weren't going to ever make another Kobe. And of course, there's no reason they couldn't until the relationship ended. So, I'm not sure that Kobe really is that going to ever be that meaningful here in the U.S. Even after he passed, the shoes sold out, but the pairs were not that significant.
Do you see the estate, Kobe Bryant, ever reconciling and going back with Nike? Or you think they're just going to do their own thing?
I'm not that close to what's a motivator there in terms of what's going on. It could go either way, in my opinion. It's really hard to make a shoe brand from the ground up. That's why you don't see that happen very often, right? Remember Big Baller? And so and they had to go to Skechers to have that product made because they needed somebody who knew how to make shoes. And so they never told anybody Skechers made the shoes, but Skechers was making those shoes for them. So there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens behind the scenes, but it's really hard to start a shoe brand from the beginning. And you think about brands that have been successful, say Allbirds as an example. I don't know if you follow that brand or not, but it's a casual, sustainable shoe. It's a very, very simple shoe. It's one piece upper, one piece outsole. There's not a lot of tricks to it. And so if you're going to start a shoe brand, that's probably what you have to do is make a really simple shoe. But making it a basketball shoe, very, very challenging.
So people paid $400 for those Skechers Big Baller brands. That's what you're telling me.
They look like it for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Another polarizing question for you, Matt. Did Yeezy ever really jump over the Jumpman?
No. Sorry.
We know
Not
that's your
even
man.
Not even close. There was that crazy article in Forbes that talked about his value, and the numbers were all wrong. I mean, I talked to a lot of people and said, "Help me get to how do they get to these numbers?" And they all didn't happen. And it's really interesting. It feels like the Yeezy thing has played itself out. They're doing the 18th colorway of a shoe is certainly not the way to get people excited about your product. And I don't see all the numbers there because a lot of it goes through Adidas, and I don't get to see their numbers. But what goes through the retailers that I see, sales were down last year. And so, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of energy out there around the name. So we'll see.
My co-host Matt is keeping the Yeezy brand alive himself. So
okay.
18 colorways. He bought all 18 colorways.
Well, I can see one sit over his right shoulder. I'm watching you.
One of the 18 right there. Jumping to another brand, Reebok. We know they went up for sale. There was rumors of people purchasing it. I believe the asking price was $2-3 billion. That still hasn't gone through all that. I thought they expected that something to happen by March, end of March. That has not happened. What's going on with Reebok? Why does no one want to buy it, or are people just bidding? To your knowledge.
They have moved now into an auction phase where people are actually submitting sealed bids now of what they think the company is worth. And of course, there are other considerations of, taking on inventory that exists, taking on the people or not, taking on the lease of the buildings or the places where they have offices and so forth. So it's not just pay a fee and get the business. The speculation is the brand's going to sell for more than $1 billion, but not much more than $1 billion. Adidas paid $3.8 billion for it in 2006. Paid too much, by the way, for it. And there have been some interesting names out there. A couple of brand aggregators like Authentic Brands is looking at it. Some talk that Wolverine, the parent company of Saucony and Sperry, might get in. They have offices in Boston already, so there's a kind of a logistics ease, if you will, there. Some of the Chinese brands are rumored to be involved because they have struggled to get a foothold here. So it'll be interesting. And by the way, ever since they announced that the brand was going to be put up for sale, the sales have been great. Reebok had a very good second half to 20 and have opened up 21 really strong. And part of it is because they're finally really being able to make retro product, bring back some great retro shoes. And I think they look really fresh on the wall. It doesn't look like stuff I've been staring at for a long time. Air Force One Superstars. I'm kind of sick of all that, and the Dunks. And I think the Reebok just looks fresh on the floor. So somebody could have some fun with this brand. And so I think somebody will. It'll be interesting how it plays out.
Yeah, there were rumors that Baron Davis and Master P were trying to acquire it. I don't know if it was just them or a team of people. Any likelihood of that happening?
There was a huge flurry when that first came out, and I haven't heard a peep about it since. So, and they were talking about $2 billion, and everybody's like, wait, it's not worth $2 billion today. Maybe it is someday, but it isn't today. But I have not heard those names come up ever since that 1 week when the rumor dropped.
I feel like that could be beneficial if you got some star power, so to speak, or some culture power behind it, because you can make it. You buy low, it's cheap. You get it at a discounted rate. You can make it cool, inject some coolness in it. Get a celebrity or two. We're going to talk about Puma in a second and how they went and got a couple of people, and maybe you can start fresh with a blank slate. I don't know. It seems like a good opportunity.
I agree. I think that would be a plus for the brand if it had some star power behind it, for sure.
Yeah.
Just speaking of Puma, in 2018, they jumped into the sneaker game, the basketball region. In your eyes, do you think that their aggressive strategy paid off in the long run?
No.
Yeah. I think
I think Puma's playing the long game here. I think Puma is making the assumption that basketball shoes as fashion will make a comeback someday. And when it does, they're going to have a seat at the table, and because of this effort. But look, I would tell you that LeBron isn't working out for Nike. I'm going to tell you that Harden isn't working out for Adidas. There really is. I can't think of an athlete where I could say that person is really paying off in their contract with in terms of merchandise sales.
Right.
Now you got to look. LeBron is the face of Nike today, and so and he's obviously larger than just basketball shoe sales, and he's doing a lot of great work and really important work and so forth. So, but in terms of actual sales of shoes that are associated with a player, nobody's earning that out right now.
Mm-hmm. So even signing Neymar from Nike and getting him to come to Puma, I know that soccer is huge. We spoke about it at the beginning of the actual podcast. You don't think that Neymar get is beneficial to Puma, period?
Well, let's flip this upside down and talk about it from this angle. Athletic shoe brands need athletes performing at a high level wearing their products. That's really important to the brand. It gives them authenticity, it gives them credibility, it's a halo over everything. And so Neymar is doing that for Puma now, and LeBron does that for Nike. But is Puma going to earn out what they're paying him in terms of cleat sales? Not going to happen. No, not going to happen.
Does it really? I was just thinking about this. They're making shoes. I saw they signed LeBron to a lifetime deal. Do a lot of times people grab athletes just so they won't sign with somebody else?
That was going on for a while, and I think that we've seen a turning point over the last 2 years in terms of brands' attitudes about athlete signings. Before Zion, there really wasn't a big rookie contract going back to maybe John Wall might have been the last big rookie contract. And the brands were pretty much saying, you know what, we're going to get a guy, we're going to take a top draft pick, and we're going to pay him $1 million, $2 million, which in NBA money is chump change. Yeah. In our money, it's a different story, but I'd take a $2 million rookie contract any day. But And they said, okay, then we'll see if the guy works out. And does he have the game? Does he have the personality? And if he does, he's going to make big money later. Curry, as an example of that, right? Because for every Zion Williamson, you got a Markelle Fultz.
Yeah.
So and so you don't want to be putting out big money on a guy and have him blow up. So I think the brands are holding back. I also think that, and it really started with Under Armour, that the brands have started to go through some rationalization about, am I getting the return on this investment? And if I'm spending $250 million on UCLA and they're not playing any sports, Under Armour was right to say, I got to get out of this. And what did UCLA sign with Nike for? 180 million instead of 250 million. So you start to see the prices come down. And I think all of the brands are being more circumspect about who they're signing and how much they're paying. And I think we're going to see things start to moderate a little bit. The same thing with soccer clubs, by the way. The same, I think brands have overpaid for those endorsements as well.
Speaking of Under Armour, we know that I think they were down last year about 15% in revenue. Steph is the only, was Cam as well, a couple of big name players, Joel Embiid, but you don't really hear a lot about Under Armour being a power player when I felt like they had a lot of potential early on. What happened? What kind of went wrong with Under Armour?
A couple of things. I think they got into and are still in too many businesses that don't make any money. Baseball shoes, nobody makes money on baseball shoes. Nobody makes money on football shoes. And even when they had the Cam shoe that came out in the beginning, and that sold a lot of pairs for a football shoe, but it still was a football shoe. And so to be in those businesses, I'm not sure you're really making any money there. And look, Nike can do it because Nike is so big they can do anything they want to today. And then I think the other piece for Under Armour was that as the athleisure trend started up and really became a force, they stayed more performance and less sportswear. And the marketplace really shifted, I think, into more sportswear of just, I want to look athletic, but I'm not really probably going to do anything in any sport in these clothes or shoes. And so the marketplace sort of moved away from where Under Armour was. But interestingly, under COVID, I think we've seen a shift in the market again here. And I think consumers are going to be more concerned about living healthy lifestyles than ever after COVID, because when you look at the casualties of the pandemic, they were people with pre-existing conditions, overweight, smokers, diabetic, et cetera, right? Yep. So people start to focus living on healthy lifestyles. That brings back performance apparel as fashion. And Under Armour is not killing it right now, but they're performing at or above the market. And I think again, this brand could see a comeback in 21.
You mentioned baseball real quick. We know Nike entered an agreement with MLB about 10 years ago. About 2 years ago to do the jerseys and all that good stuff.
Right.
They pay big money for that. Do they make that back? Or is that, we just want our logo on as much as possible?
You're absolutely right that much of the expense there really is a marketing expense. That I want my logo. Every time you see a Major League Baseball player, you see the logo. And somebody, not me, I don't do this, but somebody can put a value on every one of those impressions and tell you how many millions of dollars of exposure you got. Okay. They do look, the licensed apparel business is a business, but it's a fan business. It's based on, Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay and all of a sudden becoming the #1 selling jersey in the country, because every Tom Brady fan didn't want to wear his Patriots jersey anymore. They wanted to wear his Bucks jersey. So there is money there, but it's a fan business. And it's not, if you go back 20 years ago now, when it was streetwear, and everybody was wearing starter jackets in the 80s and all that stuff, right? I mean, that was a business. And it's really interesting with the emphasis on sport that we see today, and the emphasis on athleisure that licensed products have not made the same comeback that a lot of other categories have, and it may be out there for that to happen. So
I wonder how much of the conversation, when a Brady goes from one team to another, does the merchandise and the apparel and the money behind that come into play? I wonder if that plays a part in any decision whatsoever in terms of market and stuff like that.
It really doesn't. Most of the major leagues divide up their royalties on jersey sales and hardware evenly, like they do with the TV contract. With one exception, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. When the NFL went through their last negotiation of this, Jerry Jones opted to not have them not rev share with everybody else, and he makes slightly more than the other teams because the Cowboys are such a popular team. But it's really a minor amount of money. So the Brady money goes to Jacksonville, evenly. Everybody gets the same deal.
Okay. They tried to renegotiate that, and it got shot down for sure this offseason. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Before we get you out of here, Matt, I need you to jump in that time machine for us, man. Can you give us some bold predictions for sneakers in the next 5 years?
Well, I think we're going to continue to see athletic apparel be the driving force in what people are wearing. There's been a lot of talk as we start to emerge from the pandemic that people are going to go back to wearing dressy clothes again. First of all, we're not seeing that in the data. For instance, the ladies' dress business is good, but it's still not at 19 levels. So it's not where it's not like it's blowing up. Look, when I started doing this research 20 years ago, I would be in a suit and tie for this conversation, all right? And I just don't see us ever going back to wearing that. We may do it for fun. We may say, let's have a dress up party and everybody get but it's a one-off, right? It's not like we're going to wear that every day. So I think the athletic side of it remains strong. I think, again, people are going to be very concerned about healthy living coming out of this pandemic, and I think that's good for the sports business. Clearly, the sports equipment business has been just off the chain during the pandemic. Home fitness equipment, bicycles, just astronomical growth in those categories. And I think that takes itself out. I think we may see a brand or two do something really bold and maybe go down market to a Walmart or a Target and become a real mass brand. Walmart and Target are important retailers in athletic footwear, but they're not where they're some of the biggest retailers in the world today. They're not in athletic footwear because they don't have the brands. I do think we could see some people going down market. There will be a lot fewer retailers out there. Nike and Under Armour and Adidas have all announced that they're going to be reducing the number of retail outlets that they have, and that's going to put a lot of retailers out of business. Unfortunately, some mom and pops, folks who carried the brand, built the brands, not going to be around, and some chains are not going to be around. And so I think we can expect that to change. I don't really see anyone challenging Nike for supremacy. Clearly, Adidas took some share in 16 and 17, and so they were able to move upwards, but not to really be in a position to challenge. So I think Nike remains the supreme story.
I like what Adidas did with getting Jerry Lorenzo, though, for their basketball. Adidas, what they did with getting him, because I think their basketball line needs work, to say the least. And I'm very interested to see what I don't know how much that moves the needle, but at least sneakerheads and paid a lot of attention to that and are curious to see what that's going to look like. So maybe something like that is a stride in the right direction, at least from the U.S. market.
Well, it'll be interesting. We've never really seen a designer be able to translate from the scarcity premium point of view to a more mass point of view and really do volume. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying we've never seen it happen. So can he do it? It'll be really interesting to watch how this plays out. And Eric Wise, running basketball, I have a lot of respect for him. And I thought it was curious moving the basketball group to LA because LA is not a basketball epicenter. You got to be in Manhattan, you got to be in Brooklyn to be in the basketball epicenter where things are happening. So I thought that was kind of curious, but yeah, it's a work in progress, and they certainly have some powerful tools here now. So we'll see how it plays out.
Awesome, man. Matt, we've been following you for years on Twitter. So this was cool having a conversation. We appreciate you taking the time out. Where can people keep up with what you have going on?
Yeah, so it's at NPD Matt Powell on Twitter. My email is in my bio and my profile. If you, I love people asking me questions, especially students, but I love talking about this, as you can tell, and happy to answer any questions anybody might have. My blogs are up on the NPD website. If you link me on LinkedIn, I will send you an email when I publish a blog. So there's a whole lot of ways to find me out there.
Awesome, man. Hey, we appreciate your time. And of course, we'll be keeping our eyes on some of those blogs and some of those articles in the future, man. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. Great to see you.
Hey, man, we are back. A super dope interview with Matt Powell, dude. He was dropping some shit.
Woo! Big jewels. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff I had no clue about. Some of the stuff, man, I really wanted to get in depth with, but I understood Matt couldn't get into the mud. He can get in the mud. You got to stay out of the mud. He had to keep himself clean. I got it.
I get it, man. But them big baller brand Skechers, that's nasty.
Hey, man.
That's nasty.
Did you know anything about that prior to Matt saying that?
No, I had no idea, bro. I had no clue.
Makes sense as he says it, though.
Yeah. The quality and the look of the shoe makes sense. The price tag, however, does not add up. That's very interesting.
Scammer vibes.
Damn, LeVar? I still mess with LeVar, man. That's still my guy, but that's rough. That's an L right there.
Okay. I know a scammer when I see one. I've been trying to tell y'all about the scam, but shout out to him, though, having 2 successful sons in the NBA. But as far as his business practices,
yeah. Shady records.
Shady.
Before we get out of here, man, question of the day.
Let's do it.
This will come from an anonymous source.
Mm-hmm.
The names will be protected to protect the innocent, man. It'll be hidden. Had a homeboy of mine holler at me, said, hey, I got a partner of mine.
Okay.
He's just jumping into the sneaker game, kind of new to it. He's buying shoes that aren't considered cool. And we know what those are. You know the ones. We like, them ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
Do I tell him that them ain't it? Or is it on him to do his own research and figure this out and learn the hard way?
How old is the homie?
He's of age. We're going to say late 20s, early 30s. Let's say that.
Did he come from a situation where, it was, he had a rough, childhood, rough upbringing?
Hey, but didn't we all at some point?
Listen, if you are over the age of 25,
okay,
the homies got to keep you abreast of, hey, you cannot come out the house with that shit on with me. You know what I'm saying? Especially when I'm coming through with that shit on. Now, granted, I ain't got shit new, but I still got that shit. You feel me? So, in turn, you got to tell the homie, hey, them ain't it. I get it. Put 2 or 3 of them together and find you some shit that's really gonna hit. Yeah. I understand. And I understand why my homie's doing that, because guess what? He can't get sneakers. AB is getting all the sneakers. Homie can't get the sneakers. He just trying to get something that match up with the fit. Yeah. This is the thing. No, you cannot do that. No, because in turn, you got the whole team looking crazy. So in turn, if you want to keep the team looking popping, tell the homie, no. Cannot come out the crib like that. No.
Yeah, you got to have an intervention. You got to have an intervention, one-on-one, heart to heart. We're not trying to get no jokes off. We're not trying to be funny. I'm just keeping it a band because you my man, 50 grand. And you got to tell them that those ain't it, and this is why they ain't it, but these are. You know that little diet thing, eat this, not that?
For sure.
Rock this, not that.
No, you can't rock them. No, you can't rock those. I don't know what shoes it was, but it was probably some bullshit. Yeah. And I'll be mad as hell because you bringing the property value of the team down. You know what I'm saying? You pull up, everybody got that shit on, and you coming through with some shit on. You feel me? Nah.
That's a simple conversation, man. I promise it's going to sting at first, but it's the truth. It's going to get respected at the end. It's going to be better for you. That's
most
all.
Definitely.
Man, appreciate you guys checking out the podcast. As always, youtube.com/realville. Check out the new Fresher Than the Average YouTube page coming soon. IG, Twitter, realvillemedia.com. We appreciate Matt for sliding through. Be on the lookout for more guests. Let us know who y'all would like on the show, who y'all want to hear from in the sneaker fashion world, bro. That'd be a good look, man. Throw us some suggestions, and we're here for it, man.
Facts, man.
Unless it's like Pharrell or somebody. I ain't got Pharrell on the jack. That's gonna be a little rough.
Nah, if it was, I'd be able to get some sneakers. It's crazy. I can't even get NMD human races. I said, you know what? Let me try to get some human races. Kendra is not selected on human races. I wouldn't even wear them, fam. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, shit. Hey, man, brighter days are ahead. I promise. This is your month right here, bro.
I still got that shit, though. That's what you don't understand. I still got that shit. It just ain't new shit, but it's still some shit.
Hey, man. On that note, man, don't forget to please wear your kicks.
And cop responsibly, man.
When you can cop responsibly.
I'm still copping though, AB. Hold up though. I'm still copping. I'm just not copping you know what I'm saying? I'm copping though.
And we out, man.
Yes, sir.